Hey, here we are on Mother's Day, going to cover UFC Fight Night 87 from the Netherlands. So stay tuned. We're going to be in 1, 2, 3, go.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, we're not doing that anymore?
So, yeah, no, I was surprised that they would turn Cap gay. Who would have thought that? First gay superhero in the Marvel Universe.
I thought you meant Captain Crunch.
Well, he's very sweet.
I mean, have you seen that hat?
There's that. There's sweet Captain Crunch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? You smell me?
Oh, what up, world? Here we are on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 8th, 2016, here on AfterBuzz TV, about to cover the UFC Fight Night 87 from Amsterdam. Is it Amsterdam or the Netherlands? I know Amsterdam is in
Rotterdam.
Rotterdam in the Netherlands.
How close is it to, the little red light district?
It's closer than Dallas is to New York. I promise you that.
Okay. Great. Well, if you hear that recognizable voice, that's J-Tan over there.
Hello.
And of course, we have not new to the panel, but new to me. Right, so it's finally a pleasure to finally share this experience with you.
It's the first time we have the big three finally set up.
Absolutely.
George, Gabriel, George.
Yeah, what's up, man?
And then before I introduce myself, why don't you guys introduce yourself? Twitter handles, Instagram, Snapchats, MySpaces.
I've quit everything.
PlayStation Network.
No longer social media.
Live Journal.
Done. Luddite.
Periscope.
Tag 'em and bag 'em.
Actually, is Tout still a thing?
you would know better than we would, my friend.
I feel like Jay is that guy who still checks his MySpace. Just every now and then.
You never know.
And I better be in your top 8.
I forgot that was a thing. That never came over to Facebook, huh? The top 8?
Well, that's because Facebook was smart.
Yes.
I guess.
But where can people find you on the social media?
Go ahead, Jay.
All over it, frankly. The Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Periscope, but you'll never find me. I'm lurking for you. And I actually recently joined Snapchat as well.
Okay.
Nice.
Mostly because I thought there was going to be a lot of booby shots, but so far nothing.
Who are you following?
Somebody tell me who to follow, for God's sakes.
No, what's up, guys? You can find me on Twitter and Snapchat at Double G on TV.
And of course, I'm George Hermoza here, or they spelled Arlovsky wrong. Here on AfterBuzz, GHERMOZA, George Hermoza, G Hermoza. We're on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. We're gonna talk some fun.
And in the chat room, of course, our main cornerman, Joe Boza, is in the house here. Starts off saying awesome fights with awesome card with awesome fights. Really surprised we didn't have a fight of the night. I don't know that I would agree with you completely, my friend. We will get into that shortly.
We'll get into that. But overall, I mean, first off, UFC's first time in the Netherlands. Obviously, there are some fighters that are from there. We're going to get into that in a second. But overall thoughts on the event, Gabriel?
You know what? I liked the pacing of this one. We had finishes all throughout that main card, and I think that was just perfect. We saw a lot of the European fighters really step up to their hometown crowd, and what more can you ask from that? They showed up, they delivered, and the competition didn't fold either. There were guys bringing it on both sides of the card.
J-Tan, I know you usually like to run down the card. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody the results of the card?
Will do. We'll start at the bottom. You passed it off to me so you could avoid all these names here, didn't you?
You do it anyways.
Luka Sasaki opened up the card with Willie Gates, whoop-ass Willie Gates from local right around here in Fontana. Caught Willie in a submission in the second round, rear naked choke. Leon Rocky Edwards over Dominic Waters by decision. Kyoji Horiguchi over Neil Two-Tap Siri by decision. That was... there were 2 flyweights. There was a flyweight match. There were 2 flyweight matches.
We're going to talk about the flyweight division later on today.
Oh, yeah.
At lightweight, Reza Madadi over Jan Cabral by TKO in the third. Josh Emmett, a late addition, impressing me at least, over John Tuck by split decision. 29, 28, 28, 29, 29, 28. Magnus.
Josh Emmett's going to get a lot of... His name's going to show up a lot in the next few days. We'll talk about why.
They threw the injury, but I think they also, I wouldn't be surprised they put a rocket ship on his butt there, I think he's going to have a fast rise. Magnus Selenblad, who is a new addition to the UFC. A little bit of hype behind him over Gareth Soldier Boy McClellan. TKO in the second. Soldier Boy is from South Africa. And when you name yourself, when you're nicknamed Soldier Boy from South Africa, that gets me a little bit nervous. I get flashbacks to the 80s and, Sun City protests and all that. It's probably way too late or way too early for many of you people listening to this show here. Age what? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Hell no, man.
Exactly.
I was born in 91.
Main event of the preliminary card, Rustam Khabilov returning to lightweight over Chris Wade. Decision, pretty much just 29-28, 30-27, 29-28. The main card, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I believe. I practiced that one. Over Heather Jo Clark, unanimous decision. Nikita Krylov over Francois Baroche, I believe.
Is that name Ivan?
Ivan?
Yeah, is that name Ivan?
No.
Okay.
Ivan Krylov?
I don't know.
No, you're Ivan Koloff.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
Close, but no cigar.
Right.
But that was his decision in the second over Francois Baroche. Jermaine Deradamy over Anna Elmos with TKO in the first, which is something worth talking about. 6 inch height difference between these two ladies, and Deradamy is a 10-time kickboxing champion. I just felt this was so silly. This bothered me to a certain extent.
We'll talk about it.
Gunny Nelson over Albert Tumanov, submission in the second by rear naked choke. Stefan Struve over Bigfoot Antonio Silva, TKO in the second, in the first, excuse me. That was a quick one. And of course the main event, the one that really stood out the most in terms of name value here, the Reem, Alistair Overeem, finally securing his shot, most likely I would think, for UFC heavyweight title shot. He defeated Andrei Arlovsky, TKO in the second, just by Hulk smash pretty much, I think.
In the second. In the first, it looked like Arlovsky was going to pull off a big
I would have
upset,
scored Arlovsky for the first. Let's talk about that fight. I would have scored
I
Arlovsky
gave him the
for
first
the
as
first.
well.
Yeah.
I mean, was it mostly the flurry? The flurry that kind of started off with? Because I know Reem was able to take him down. So why the flurries over the takedown?
I think the fact that it looked like he hurt Overeem. We've seen that Overeem, he has some trouble with guys who are more active. So yeah, the flurry against the cage, that didn't look great for him. And also Arlovsky was more active. Yeah, Overeem tends to start slow, but in the first round it didn't look like he was being measured. It looked like he was just more tentative. He didn't want to get in there and maybe have to eat a few of those punches from Arlovsky.
I mean, Overeem's kind of known to not really start off pretty quickly. I mean, if you see a lot of his finishes, it's usually second round, third round. So it looks like he just wants to be able to survive that first round.
Yeah. Is
that a good strategy to have, and especially in that division?
I think you're going to have to get over that, given who he's going to face next, whether it is Verdum or Stipe. It's both of these guys have been around for a really long time, and both of them have taken a lot of shots to the head. They've had really bad knockouts. As we know, that'll affect you. A lot of fighters going forward in your career, so they've already kind of punched those notches on their card, as it were, right? So to that end, I can understand being a bit more hesitant. And it doesn't surprise me in that respect that Arlovsky decided to try and catch him off guard or put him immediately on the defensive by coming in with that flurry really fast. And it looked good. I mean, it had him against the cage. But after that, it got to be the match that I kind of expected it to be, in terms of two guys, older but also veteran, but not at their prime, to be quite honest. Having taking a lot of shots and being careful with, they wanted to make sure they didn't get knocked out just as much as they wanted to win, in my opinion. And when Arlovsky or Overeem took Arlovsky down, that could have stolen the round. I did give it to Arlovsky, but I could understand Overeem getting it because of that. Kind of a last-minute impression on the judges. I wouldn't have agreed with it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Overall, was the fight exactly how you thought it would go?
No, personally for me, I thought that not Arlovsky's Overeem's size would be more of a factor. It did play in toward the end of the first round where he really was just kind of able to push down Arlovsky. But I really didn't expect Arlovsky just to be able to push him around as much just with his punches as he did. So I think that it required that adjustment from Overeem, and that's what got the victory. So it was a good fight from both guys. I mean, we know they trained with each other. That was, they kept pushing that throughout the broadcast. So I think it was interesting to see, hey, these two guys know each other a little bit, but they had to make adjustments if they wanted to win. And
I love the commentators on this one. They were kind of emphasizing like, oh, these two don't like each other. I'm like, I wouldn't go as far as say that. I mean, they're just trying to hype the fight. I get it.
But Arlovsky was pushing that storyline, and also I think it's interesting that if depending on who you believe, Arlovsky said they only sparred twice. So it's not like they happen to train at the same location, but it's not like they have a long-standing. It's not Rashad and John Jones, So I think there was a little bit more. Or not as much to that really as was made, but you got to find a storyline, obviously.
I think it's similar to when they talked about GSP and Carlos Condit, how they both worked so much at Greg Jackson. There's so many. Greg Jackson is the main mastermind over at that gym, but there's so many assistant coaches that it's probably possible that they may have seen each other, but they don't do a lot of rounds, a lot of personal work, actually, working technique with each other and actually learning each other's style. So I agree with Jay. They were just saying what they had to make sure people knew, hey, we are going to bring the fireworks tonight.
I mean, is that typical for a lot of these training camps to kind of have more than one top guy from the same division? Because you look at, like Alpha Male, you have Uriah, or or how it is now. I know everybody kind of
still got Uriah at Alpha Male.
No, but you have Uriah, but yeah, Joseph Benavides in a different division. You have TJ in a different division. You even look at AKA, Cormier, Rockhold, Cain Velasquez, all different divisions. To the point where Cormier even moved down a division to not face Cain. So, I mean, essentially, maybe it was a little bit harder for Greg Jackson. Like, how does he determine who to side, who to corner? Well, which he ended up cornering Arlovsky.
I know he talked about it on Ariel's show at one point. I don't really know offhand or remember his decision-making process. Other than that, like, Arlovsky's been there for a lot longer than Overeem has. Yeah. So seniority has one thing to do with it. Dave Meltzer, many years ago, talked about in his Wrestling Observer newsletter, which everybody, by the way, should be subscribing to. Otherwise, you're a casual fan, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, you want to learn something, you read Mr. Meltzer. Really interesting point that he made, though, and this may have been during the Rashad John Jones era when that match was building. You have throughout the nation, you've got tons of gyms, right? And you've got fighters that stand out there, guys that break out from the pack of their own individual gym. Because they've broken out from the pack, they need to go to another place to improve, to get, for lack of a better phrase, better or more appropriate training partners. Heavyweights that are in, let's say, Tennessee or New York or wherever are going to end up at AKA, because that's where the top guys like Cormier and Velasquez and Luke are. And so you get this dynamic throughout the country and throughout the years where gyms, fighters gravitate to certain gyms, which means that other gyms kind of fall off the map, for lack of a better phrase. So now you end up with this cluster of top fighters of all the same sizes at certain gyms, like Alpha Male, with lighter weight guys, AKA with bigger guys. You got kind of a mix really at Jackson's, for example, but the problem is also only several gyms stand out, like the three that I just mentioned. We have that right now kind of on the upswing with, who am I thinking of?
Black Zillions, maybe?
That to an extent, yeah, but I was thinking in previous years, but I was thinking also...
TriStar?
No. Long Island, Weidman Longo, or Sarah Longo, however they have it named these days.
They're starting to grow a bit.
Yeah. So you got a middleweight guy there. You got Iaquinta, you got Aljo. Kind of the middleweight weight classes, if you will. Yeah. Aljo's obviously a little bit on the lighter side at 35, but you get this strange dynamic where the quality gets concentrated at certain gyms, certain areas, but then the quantity of gyms falls off.
I think, though, we have to also take into account workplace politics. So one of the things we've really seen, Alpha Male for a long time, because so many of the guys were in close in weight, especially Uriah Faber and Joseph Benavidez, and then later TJ Dillashaw before the fallout, that, hey, we'll talk about it between ourselves if we will fight each other, and if so, it'll only be for a title. Or we saw it back in the day with... I want to say it was AKA, with the trifecta, Josh Koscheck, John Fitch, Mike Swick, when all three of those guys were like right there for a title shot, but all three were saying, hey, we're not going to fight each other.
Yeah.
So you have that kind of dynamic going on, and I think it's not just to the personal gym, but to the fighters, to the coaches, how they're going to handle that situation.
All those things play factors, and there's not necessarily a trend to it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, I think Bigfoot and Overeem for a while, they were both at Black Zillions. When Black Zillions agreed to bring in Overeem, Bigfoot Silva said, look, we're both right there at the top, we're most likely going to fight. So he chose to leave the gym. That's not to say that there's a personal problem with Overeem. That's just him saying, hey, I need to keep this on on a level playing field, and that's what's going on.
Lots of conflict of interest from the coaches, and like who they side with, why him over me, etc. Exactly, that's what happened to John Jones, Rashad Evans.
Yeah. So the guys got to do what's best for them. Yeah. If the guys if they're comfortable fighting in the same gym, just maybe not with each other, okay. If they're not, they just make their decision the way they have to.
This is one of the things that makes team sport or individual sports like this so complicated.
Right.
And especially combat sports.
You don't really see that in bowling.
Right.
Not a lot, no.
Right, yeah.
I wonder what you do see in bowling other than beer sponsorships. I don't know. Maybe not even sponsorships, just beer.
But going back to this fight, Overeem, obviously TKO victory over Arlovsky. Is it safe to say that Overeem gets the winner of Stipe versus Verdun?
I would think so, probably.
I say yes. I had JDS a little ahead just because he was the last guy to beat both of the guys. But because of the fashion in which Overeem defeated Dos Santos and in the fashion now that he finished Arlovsky, I think he's jumped ahead in line. I think he's the more intriguing matchup despite JDS being the former champion.
I think they want to see some new blood too. I mean, obviously, we've seen Dos Santos at the top. We haven't seen Overeem get that title shot.
Right.
With that said, in no way, shape, or form does Travis Brown and Kenny Velasquez kind of...
Yeah.
I think it's at the fashion.
If Brown wins, then he'll be in the mix. And
over
You think so?
Yeah.
Actually,
not necessarily. Well, yes, he'll be in the mix.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily saying that people say, or that the UFC brass decides Brown deserves it more than Overeem.
Does it depend on who wins though?
It depends. It depends on who wins. Or Kane Brown?
No, Verdun Miocic.
Because Verdun did have that decision win over Brown,
and then Overeem has a decision over Verdun.
I don't think that the rematch storyline necessarily has much to do with it. It has to do with availability and injury and when they want to book a card. And these two fighters, do we want to put them in this city or not? Let's put it like this. Who am I thinking? Champ. Let's say Verdun comes out. It's Verdun and Travis Brown, and they decide that they are going to do a Hawaii show towards the sometime in the fall.
Okay.
You're going to give Brown that title shot there. You're going to stick him there, right?
I'll give you that.
But if they've got to fill in a spot in Philadelphia or something like that, then Brown becomes less of a conversation piece. So there's a lot of different moving pieces going on here, and certainly a big part of it is who's the top guy and who deserves it. Now, to that end, I think we're talking about Overeem. JDS, is possibility, but Brown, if he comes out, as the winner of that match as well. Velasquez, I don't think so. Even if Velasquez comes out the winner of that one, they'll give him another match before you start talking about him as a title guy again.
I feel like Velasquez is actually still really up there just because they did have him penciled in, and I think that if he has a dominant enough performance against Brown, that he could jump his place in line because he has, I guess, the biggest name value of the contenders. He is the guy who beat down Dos Santos twice. He is the guy who...
I don't think he has that name value anymore, though. I think that's all been fabricated. I think he's been one of these guys that they pushed, they hoped would take off, but I think injuries have really plagued his, for lack of a better phrase, public persona. People's trust that he's going to be a dominant guy, that's a guy that I want to see. Because even if he does get to the title shot and wins the title, still got to expect that he's going to get injured. We might that title might go on the shelf again. So. I think new blood, especially now, in the conversation we're going to talk about with the weight classes, this summer, like the next 2 months, are going to blow wide open the conversations, of who's next. We're getting a bunch of title shots. Remains to be seen who comes out on top and has the gold. And then after that, if it is a new face, we've got a whole new mix of 10 to 15 people to talk about for new matchups.
Definitely not a bad problem to have. Just
if
an
you're the
influx of main
UFC,
eventers as opposed to another division that we'll probably get into in a little bit.
The only situation where that's not the case is DJ.
Speaking of the heavyweight division, we had Stefan Struve, maybe a comeback story in its own right. In my opinion, a new look. Antonio Silva kind of going for the George Hermoza look, kind of growing out his hair with the beard. I'm just throwing it out there.
And it worked great for him.
I mean, probably in the amount of time that I've been talking about this fight, it's already it happened. 15 seconds KO. Yeah. Not surprised. I'm not surprised that Struve won. I am surprised. I'm surprised how long it was. But I mean, what'd you guys think?
Really?
I thought it'd be longer.
I did too.
How short
it
was
was shorter. Yeah.
Okay.
I expected a lot more out of Bigfoot Silva. I know he's had trouble with some heavy hitters, Mark Hunt and those guys in the past, but against Stefan Struve, a guy who's not, he has knockouts, but he's not really known for taking guys out quickly. So I think to be taken out like that, I think that says a lot about where Bigfoot Silva is. He is, for being such a big dude that you think could just mow over a lot of guys, he's just taken a lot of hits. And unfortunately, I think he's a guy who's really... what's his ranking right now? I'm not sure.
Antonio Silva?
Yeah.
I don't even think he's ranked.
I thought he was maybe still...
Bigfoot is 12.
Yeah, I thought he was in the second part of the top 10. That
definitely going to be unranked, I'm sure.
I think that slides him out, and I think that just speaks to, he's had some tough fights. He's been in the game a long time, and Struve just being younger, being as technical as he is. We just saw more where Bigfoot was at compared to Stefan Struve.
Aside from being in his home country, he's got a lot to prove.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't been able to win some of these fights that he puts up, in the main event or co-main event. Obviously, he lost his last fight with Jared Rocheldt. So obviously he comes back and he wants to stay relevant.
What year was he sidelined with his heart valve situation? Was it 2 years ago?
I thought it was 13, 14, yeah.
Okay. That's that's a factor as well. I'm taking a quick look right here. He's fought once in 13, once in 14, twice in 15. So I'm guessing that it was probably...
Had a 20-month layoff between Mark Hunt and Overeem.
Yeah, okay. And those were 2 losses. That may have changed him. In that time since that issue, the loss to Mark Hunt, loss to Overeem, those are understandable. Win over Antonio Hojero Nogueira, who that was last year, and that is an aging little nog, right?
Yeah. No, that's a big nog.
A big,
heavyweight.
God damn it, yeah,
it's all good.
That's what I meant. But lost to Jared Rocheldt. And then a win over Bigfoot, 16 seconds. He caught him. He caught Bigfoot. Yeah. And like Gabriel said, it says just as much about where Bigfoot is as it does where Struve is. But, his wins were against Bigfoot in that way. And
keep in mind, he has an
aging big nog.
Knockout victor over Stipe Miocic. He's knocked out Stipe Miocic, the number 1 contender for the
4
UFC
years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago, before all this happened.
Yeah.
Stipe has certainly grown. I think what's most frustrating about watching Stefan Struve is for a guy who is 7 feet tall, who has the second longest reach after John Jones, how often it's become a non-factor. I mean, obviously styles are different. I'm not saying he should fight like John Jones or maybe Alex Gustafsson, but you'd think that with that kind of physical advantage over so many guys in the heavyweight division, compounded with he's got a great ground game, just how frustrating it is to see so many guys control him or get in close to knock him out. I feel like by now in his career, he should be able to really exploit that for more success. I don't know if it is his chin. Maybe he has just taken too many big shots too early from guys like Hunt. But I think that's the most frustrating thing with Struve is for a guy who should have so much potential, who is so well-rounded, he just loses a lot of fights. I feel like he should win.
Chief Cornerman Joe Bosa checks in, says Stefan's health issue happened at UFC 195. He was supposed to fight Matt Mitrione. He only had 4 fights we only had 4 fights that night. Huh?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think maybe
No, man, it was
maybe the main card had four
plenty,
fights.
plenty more fight. Yeah, maybe the main
Yeah.
card.
I think I
but,
personally had like 3, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of fights.
lunchroom doesn't count, George.
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about each division, but is there anything else from this event? Obviously, some people stood out. Gunnar Nelson, I thought. Channeling his inner Conor McGregor, I thought.
Yeah,
I think
came out with
noticed
a
that too,
different
right?
stance. Yeah.
I think the Europeans, they just came out and they put on a great show. Jermaine de Rendemi.
Could look good.
You know what? I found it surprising. They said, hey, they did offer her Chris Cyborg, but she wanted to fight in front of her
Yeah.
hometown fans. When
So
you saw
they got her somebody 6 inches.
But,
You get a
hey,
Thai box, a champion Thai boxer, and you give her somebody 6 inches shorter.
When you-
Godspeed to Anna for taking this fight, but
yeah,
come on.
she was so smiley before the fight too. It was kind of sad to watch her get beat down. But when you see the reception that Jermaine got, you know what? Hey, how often are you gonna get that in life?
know.
They may give her Cyborg down the line, but she may never
Sorely.
get another chance to fight at home.
Exactly.
So I got that. The first fight with Carolina over Heather Jo Clark.
Have you ever seen anyone more
That was a
relaxed
fun one.
before? She was just literally leaning
wing?
on the
Yeah.
cage, just like, and she just gives the wink to the king. I was like, okay,
Right.
that's scary, kind of.
That was scary, but hey, she brought it. I
Yeah.
thought, hey, if we were gonna have a fight of the night, I thought it was gonna be that one because despite Heather Jo Clark trying to bring it, Carolina, she really she put it on her for just that old fashioned beatdown. That was a good fight in my opinion.
It was decent, yeah. You either have a really scary person in somebody that just winks and goes, "Hey guys,
Right.
let's fight," or it's like the serial killer kind of thing, or you got somebody that doesn't really respect Heather Jo Clark. And Heather was doing the best that she could. Just seemed like she couldn't quite get off with her strikes as much as she wanted. A lot of strike into clinch work. Carolina, could be fun. She could be somebody that they could get behind. I want to see a couple more, or at least I want to see some more out of her performances
Yeah.
before we start talking. But I can see her separating herself from the pack and kind of becoming another Joanna Jędrzejczyk in terms of, oh wow, this chick is out of nowhere. She's fun to watch. Let's get behind her.
Definitely gritty. I think she'll be fun to watch in the next fight, whoever they put her in with.
And real quick before we get into the divisions, have you guys seen the finger?
Yes. So
Right here, buddy.
Josh Emmett's finger.
yeah,
It's not for the squeamish. So
you know what?
and he
was
won.
good?
He won with that torn finger.
And that was his UFC debut.
Yeah.
So you know what? He's showing, hey, I wasn't gonna just punk out on my first fight. That was bad. That was ugly. But you know what? He came out and he won that fight. So good for him.
What do you guys think? It was a split decision, 29-28 in respective corners over John Tuck, who's a guy that I like and think has a lot of potential. Did you guys see it as a split decision, or how did you score it?
I scored it 2-1, Emmett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emmett impressed me. He was really aggressive in the first and second.
I think Dana White been or not Dana White. Uriah Faber's been hitting up Dana White just constantly. Hey, put this guy on the card. You'll see. And obviously he was
young
impressed.
team alpha male guy.
Yeah.
That third round though, if Emmett's finger had not broken in the third round off of that kick, do you think that would you have scored it for Tuck? Do you think that Tuck would have won that round, or do you think that it would have been Emmett 30-27?
I think it probably would have been Emmett 30-27. I was
agree.
very impressed by him.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like he took his foot off the gas a little bit early in the third, realizing that he had Tuck's number. My guess, but then after that kick, obviously he was very much on the defensive. But I feel like it was that kick and that damage that won Tuck the round more than anything else that he necessarily did. You kind of got to give him that round by default. But otherwise, I think it was a really strong performance by Emmett. It's a guy that we'll see a lot from in the future, I think.
I agree.
Agree.
I agree. Anything else you want to say about this night of fights?
No.
Overeem Struve, Gunnar Nelson, Jermaine de Rendemi. Performance of the night, no fight of the night. Kudos to all of them. But yeah, I kind of want to talk about it. Obviously, it's our first time all three together. Right. Kind of want to hit up what your guys' opinions on a lot of these weight divisions. Obviously, we were talking about the heavyweight division earlier. Kind of talking about the not a bad thing for this influx of just all these potential main eventers. Obviously, you got matchups galore down the road. You know, you have Cain Velasquez, Travis Brown on UFC 200. Next week we have the title fight. So obviously we talked about the heavyweight fight or the heavyweight division. What about this light heavyweight division? Obviously, a few weeks ago we saw Jones versus OSP. They announced Anthony Johnson versus Glover Teixeira. That's a natural matchup for the division.
You know, I don't. Obviously, it's a big upswing for Glover Teixeira. I think obviously Anthony Johnson loses his spot in line. But then you got to think about activity. You know, this is going to be a while by the time everything's out. Don't taking into account injuries, how long he might have to wait for the winner of Jones versus Cormier. So I think it's a good fight in the interim, and I think it would really cement Anthony Johnson's place as the top dog and a real pound-for-pound guy if he has those wins over Gustafsson and Teixeira before possibly fighting Jones or Cormier and possibly getting a win over them.
Yeah, it does make sense between 2 and 3, AJ and Glover. I'm a bit more interested, though, honestly. I feel like we're close to getting into a bottleneck that we had with the heavyweights just a year or two ago, between Jones, Cormier, AJ, Glover, and
even
Alex.
with Alex, I mean, you got somebody like Gustafsson who in my opinion can just go, but he's lost to the top 3 guys, Jones, Cormier, and Johnson. So it's kind of like I want him to fit in, but he can't. He lost to all 3 of these guys.
But yet, if you put him in against guys, say, ranked 5 through 10...
Put him against Bader or maybe against Teixeira.
Or Rashad. He's going to own him.
Rashad's been on the decline, though. I don't know if he might
so
fight
I feel
again.
like Rashad.
To my point, though, what's fascinating when you look at the top 15, I think more interesting than the top 5 and what those matches are going to be, it really is, you know, say 5, 6, 7... down to 15. Who are going to be the new guys coming up?
Nikita Krylov looked pretty good yesterday.
Nikita Krylov looked good. Corey Anderson. And Ilir Latifi, I think, is going through kind of a rebirth. You know, he debuted as a last-minute replacement, kind of dubious auspices.
Just because it was in Sweden.
Yeah. But since then, he has had the time to reinvent himself.
Same thing with Patrick Cummins.
Yeah. Durkin as well, And I forgot where Latifi is. I want to say...
Latifi's 13.
ATT? Yeah, but team-wise.
Yeah.
ATT?
I think so.
Okay. But wherever he is, you know, we're seeing them make him a better fighter, and that's exciting. And he's got quite a big gregarious personality that I think people just don't realize they haven't seen enough of him yet. But I think... if he gets those big name matches and if he wins, then
it's gonna build up that notoriety.
It's gonna another one where people are gonna go, oh my god, this guy's fun. Let's get behind this guy. You know.
No, but I agree. You know what? Of the top 5, obviously Gustafsson has ended up at the bottom. The number 1's gonna be decided by the winner of Jones OSP, and the big name that I have standing out at light heavyweight coming up is Corey Anderson. If I'm not mistaken, he's an Ultimate Fighter winner. He's a guy who we really start to see a lot more on the main cards of some of these events. So I feel like that's the guy that maybe the UFC is trying to see if they can build him up into that higher echelon. But right now, you know, it's that 5-man race. We're going to see what happens with Jones and Cormier. Then Anthony Johnson's going to have, you know, one chance to have a final word on it before those rankings are set.
We're going to see Anderson next week and against Shogun in Brazil. But even with Anthony Johnson, I think a lot of people they're not really too fond of seeing Anthony Johnson Cormier. I think the only money fight is John Jones Anthony Johnson. Just to see if John Jones can kind of...
I still think that there's going to be enough at the last minute. Well, maybe not last minute. I think we're too early for for people to get excited about Jones Cormier. But
Jones Cormier?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think...
Oh, you think one of them's going to get hurt?
No. I'm sorry. Which was the one that you said people weren't...
Jones.
There's not money
Johnson. No, I think there is money in. I think that's the only we've seen Jones beat Teixeira, Gustafsson, Bader, OSP, or shot pretty much.
Which is the one that doesn't have money? Was the one you said?
Jones Cormier, isn't that the one?
No, I think
Johnson Cormier.
Yeah, Johnson Cormier.
Yeah, the rematch where Cormier.
Of those 3 opportunities, the 3 different combinations, for sure.
That'd be
I mean,
the
I
one
feel so
that's-
bad for Gustafsson though. That guy, he lost such a razor close thin decision against Jones and Cormier. Mm-hmm. He got knocked out by Johnson though.
Yeah, the only thing though, he's it's in his hands. If whoever he gets next, I demand the loser of, let's say, Johnson and Teixeira. If he wins that one, who knows what plays out? He certainly could be up there for a rematch with Cormier after their close fight, or John Jones. So
we
he
haven't
does have
seen
the
a-
opportunity to jump back up, but he has to win those fights.
Yeah, well, Bader doesn't have a fight coming up. OSP just lost, so I don't know who knows about Gustafsson and where he fits. I want to see him. I want to see more of Gustafsson, but again, I don't know how his confidence is since.
I wouldn't put
lost
him in
3 out of 4.
against Bader or OSP just because those guys, I think we have seen now, they're the gatekeepers in that division. Unfortunately for Ryan Bader, I'm sorry, but that man has been massacred by everyone who wants to break into the top 5. And I think we've shown that, he's just not that level of fighter.
I wouldn't put OSP in that same that same
Not
breath
yet?
though. Wait, not a gatekeeper.
Okay.
A gatekeeper is somebody that's been established and you use them as the
Stepping
gatekeeper.
stone.
Yeah, stepping stone.
Michael Bisping.
I suppose, yeah. But I think that there's still plenty of gas in the tank for OSP. There's still a future for him. Chief Cornerman Joe Boza is jumping in here and says, whoever wins the co-main of Holly and Valentina might have to wait until after the holidays, because you might have to assume we have a trilogy with John Jones and DC,
Maybe.
which is a possibility if it's a close
so
close
weird.
match. 200.
Because you have Jones, if he wins, it's like he tugged Cormier's title, but then he's up 2-0 against Cormier. It's like, you want to see round 3? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that
really
goes. It's just
good
weird,
depends.
Obviously, you have John Jones, who essentially is undefeated with the exception of a DQ loss, who's never lost his belt. Now is coming after it. So, again, UFC 200, man. It's going to be fun.
It really depends on how these things play
It's
out.
just that's just gonna be a fun night to see. We just got to see everything play out. Just like we've said all night, there's so many of these matchups, so many injuries. Health is such a big factor with these. We don't know what's
Well-
next.
well, the next-
Besides, what's next is middleweight.
Well,
I'm
the
assuming.
next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So the next 4 weeks, we're going to see a big tilt in this division. You have Rockhold Weinman here in LA on June 4th. Next week, in 6 days, Jacare against Vitor, which I'm excited for. Uriah Hall, Anderson Silva. I don't know if that's going to mean anything for the title picture, but either way, what do you guys? What fight are you guys looking forward to the most in that middleweight division?
You know what? Just on a personal level, Anderson Silva to me, he's always been the man. He's always going to be the man. So anytime he's in there, I'm excited to see it. As far as the future of the division, Belfort, Jacare, that's probably the one that's going to be the most fireworks and is going to... I feel like if that's an exciting fight, if they don't just kind of stall each other out and just really subdue each other's skills, then I think they jump in line ahead of Michael Bisping, who I think we've come to believe is the next one after beating Anderson Silva.
Maybe.
So those 2 fights I think are right there.
Next title contender?
Yeah. Just because Yoel Romero, we know he's not about to get a title shot in the near future, and
Well,
he's
he's
got to
gotta
wait
serve
out his
out-
suspension anyway.
Yeah, but once he does his suspension, once he fills that, then he may get a title shot.
Yeah, well-
because he.
It still counts as a win.
Yeah.
It wasn't overturned. It's a win.
Well, that's
Rather,
true.
rather
And there
underwhelming
is-
fight though.
True, totally.
Yeah.
But if
I'm hoping
Jacare,
Jacare, yeah.
if Jacare does not perform, then you're looking at Belfort as a contender.
Lots of
and-
storylines here too, because you have Vitor Belfort, who not too excited to fight. For me, not too excited to see him fight Weidman. I do think Rockhold's going to win. That's a lot of storyline there too. Rockhold's been dying to face Vitor Belfort again.
Yeah,
But I don't
Rockhold
wanna-
wants that one back.
But I want to see Jacare up there. We've seen them in Strikeforce. Again, I thought they've always had fun fights. But again, Uriah Hall, Anderson Silva, he's got so much to gain as opposed to Silva, who if he wins, it's like, oh, well, you beat Uriah Hall.
That's the most imaginative fight that we're talking about here. Rockhold and Weidman are really close, in my opinion. It's going to be a great technical fight. I'm excited for. Jacare Belfort, I'm not as jazzed about as you guys are. But Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall is new school versus old school. It's Bruno Sammartino versus Larry Zbyszko.
Sure. I mean,
during that era,
going
again,
back
before you were born, Gigi.
going back to Ultimate Fighter, Jones versus Sonnen, a lot of people were thinking that this is the next Anderson Silva, Uriah Hall. That guy was just completely sending people to the hospital. Like, oh man, this is going to be the guy. Obviously, we've seen some roadblocks, but we've seen him when he can go. I mean, this guy is just a straight up killer.
It's going to be a big indicator of where Anderson Silva, I think, is at, because I think we can both agree that all three of us, that Anderson Silva's experience should be enough to really dominate Uriah Hall, but at the same time, if Anderson's skills really, if Father Time has just slowed him down too much, then it's very easy to see Uriah Hall just being first to his mark and beating Anderson, whether dynamic fashion or just a straight up decision.
I mean, we have Hector Lombard coming back to middleweight. We have Robert Whitaker, who is looking more and more impressive every single time. Not sure why Tim Kennedy's still ranked. I don't think he's going to fight ever again in the UFC.
Really? Not ever again?
I don't know.
I think
he definitely sounds like he doesn't want to fight for the UFC.
Yeah.
I've personally never really been a big fan of Tim Kennedy. He's one of those guys. He's always complained about the pay scale, yet he hasn't done anything to say it's like, personally, I don't want to see you headline a pay-per-view. I wouldn't pay for that ticket. So I feel like he's got some
soon. Even if he does fight again, he's not going to headline anytime soon.
And his big storyline, he's going after all the PED user guys, and how convenient that they're all big name guys who would be main events. I mean, he's trying to say, look,
he also has terrorists after him.
Yeah.
The FBI had to warn him, hey, dude, slow your roll on Twitter,
Oh, yeah.
No, I think there's a lot you can do with Tim. I don't know how much of a fan I am of him either for different reasons. But when he comes back, he'll open his mouth. He will give you great sound bites. He's a guy that they can get behind, when the time is right. But yeah, he does complain a lot about things, and if he doesn't, clearly he's proven that he's happy to sit things out if need be. He's got a life away from fighting, so he doesn't need this.
It's true.
Yeah, my own personal favorite division, the welterweight division, obviously headed by Robbie Lawler, who I think it's unofficially official, is going to fight Tyron Woodley. About time for Woodley.
I thought it was officially official.
I thought they had just announced
UFC, was it 201? 202?
What we're going for, yeah.
I thought it was 201.
UFC 201. If you want to see Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, the fight I'm looking forward to, obviously, is Wonder Boy, Stephen Thompson versus Rory McDonald. Damian Maia, Matt Brown is going to be next week. That's going to be a big welterweight tilt. Don't know how Cerrone fits in. I know he's fighting a lot more in welterweight. Maybe he might make a run. What do you guys think?
I don't see Cerrone making the big run at welterweight. Yeah, matchups have helped out Cerrone a lot. Obviously, his first fight at welterweight helped him out. But I think that if things change at lightweight, he's going to jump at the chance to go back down there because that's where he has the more natural weapons. He's a bigger guy, taller guy. He loses that at welterweight, and he's going to need those advantages against the elite at the 170-pound division.
That makes sense. Yeah. Cerrone, he knows a guy. He's going to know a guy at 55 or 70, whatever's clever, he's the guy where we see what happens in the next month or two as things fall out. Well, at least two, given, the two big matches in July.
I get the marketing factor of Conor McGregor, but it always upset me whenever Dana White was like, well, I'm going to do this for Conor because he's built us out. So is Donald Cerrone. That guy will fight at any single time. So why don't you give him? I get the marketing. Aside from that, why don't you give him any kind of preferential treatment as far as certain fights? I just thought that was a little like, dude, stop saying that, Dana. You're making yourself look bad.
Well, I think now that we've mentioned him, the man of the hour, Conor McGregor, it is still unfortunately his world. I think obviously we need to see.
I'm not even going to talk about
the UFC.
Come on,
Mayweather thing.
You know what? If he wins, he gets a lot of power back. If he doesn't, I see him back at 145, and I think
we can
that's
talk about
the
the lightweight and the featherweight kind of bunching up together. I know we're going to wrap it up soon, but you have the lightweight division he was supposed to fight in. He's obviously the big rumors. Obviously now UFC 202 against Nate Diaz, but
oh my goodness,
Rafael dos Anjos is kind of the king of that division right now. He's supposed to fight Eddie Alvarez. We have Edson Barboza, who looked impressive against Gabriel Melendez, coming up soon. Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa, they just announced. What do you guys think of this division?
Do you care? We had McGregor Diaz, and no one really was thrilled with it except for McGregor, and then it got taken away from us. And all of a sudden, we kind of wanted it. I think we wanted it more because we were pissed off at McGregor.
I don't care.
And now we're going towards it again. It looks like we may get it. And I'm kind of I'm pissed about that, quite frankly. And if you're going to take McGregor and Diaz off of 200, then make McGregor defend his title. You know, I think this thing about the rematch was stupid to begin with, and I don't think it was a work that his pulling out tried to create buzz for the match. But now that it's off the table, I don't want it back on the table.
I'd say strip him. I mean, obviously they're not going to strip him, but I mean, he's not going to fight at 145.
They got to restore. They got to restore to then. I think he has to, because you know what? No one's going to care about 145 unless someone takes out McGregor.
I mean, they're not going to do that, but
no one wants to see someone fight for second place.
I mean, as far as the sport aspect, put Jose Aldo, Frank Edgar, drop the interim. Max Holloway versus Ricardo Lamas, number one contender. Yeah, Max Holloway's been looking good.
Yes.
I don't know where BJ Penn's going to fit in. Obviously, he's probably not.
I think BJ Penn shouldn't be coming back, but that's another story.
Something to keep in mind too. Henan Barrow's moving up to featherweight. So he's going to be fighting Jeremy Stevens in a few weeks.
Oh, that is booked. You're right. That's on the Vegas fight night.
That should be the main event. But Thomas Almeida, talking about Thomas Almeida, he's in the bantamweight division. That's a guy who's
he's a guy to watch for.
Pretty freaking good. Obviously, Dominic Cruz, top of that division. I mean, what is really
Dodson. Let's talk about John Dodson.
Although I was gonna kind of tie it in with the flyweight division, because flyweight division, there's not a single fight announced at least until UFC 200.
You know what? We barely have any time. I'm just going to say this. The flyweight division, it was a failed experiment. They thought they were going to have depth. They don't. I say, you know what? They're going to do something else. But Demetrius Johnson, he gets the title shot at bantamweight.
I will say this. Yes. If Demetrius Johnson wants the shot, he should absolutely get it without any questions asked against Dominic Cruz.
Easy.
I know he wants that. Wants to break Anderson Silva's record. And I think they're going to hold out for that as much as possible.
But who's next? Who's next for DJ? Do they do the Ultimate Fighter?
They'll find
the coaches on Wednesday.
That's good. They'll find something. They'll keep that around because they want to keep all fighters. They're not going to kill a division just because they don't have it. No, 125 is here to stay, like it or not.
Joey B, Sandy Cejudo, I want to see next.
I know it's a bottleneck, but
we're wrapping up soon.
To find out later.
We'll talk about the women's division next week.
716.
Hold on.
Hi, love you.
Give me like 15 seconds. Quick predictions for next week. I know we're not going to do the thing, but obviously next week UFC 198 in Brazil, huge show. Who do you guys have?
Verdum defends the title.
Defends it? Okay. What about does he
successfully?
Yeah, successfully defend it. You
possibly. I don't know.
Plug your Twitter handles now.
You know what? Hey, Mom, happy Mother's Day. You know, all the mother figures out there who support me as well, thank you. But Mom, you do a great job. As always, guys, find me on Twitter at @GG on TV.
Okay.
Right.
J10-716. Mom, I'll see you soon.
At G Hermoza, GHERMOZA. This was fun. Can't wait for next week. We might go in a little bit late. I'll let you guys know. I don't know why. I don't know yet, but we'll see. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I can't even talk right now because I'm so excited for next week.
Brazil.
We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.